So I'm back again, me Audrina Lane, with a chapter 22 and part 2, and we're still with the diaries, and we're now on Tuesday the 12th of July 1988. I woke early and full of butterfly nerves. I'd retyped my CV the previous evening and found a sensible looking skirt and top to wear. As Mum dropped me off at the reception area, she wished me luck before I walked in. "Can I speak to Mr. Ford?" I asked the girl on the desk. She quickly buzzed his extension number. "He'll be with thee shortly," she responded, as she motioned to the chairs nearby. Sitting there, I felt nervous and wished that James was next to me. His hand in mine would have helped. Instead, I shut my eyes and thought of his smiling face. I opened them just in time to look up and see a guy in a suit approaching. "Are you Stephanie March?" he asked. "Yes," I replied, standing up to shake his proffered hand. "If you'd like to follow me, we'll go and have a chat about things, and then I can introduce you to the guys who run the radio station here." "Okay," I replied as I grabbed my bag and followed him down the seamlessly endless maze of white corridors. I could hear the tunes over the corridor speakers and realised that the music they were playing was more like the stuff my mum and dad listened to. Once in his office, we sat down and I told him all about the type of music I liked and that kids would be more interested in, along with some ideas for competitions we could run to get some more involvement from them. I watched as he smiled and nodded and wrote some notes. "Well, I think you've got yourself a job," he said, smiling as he stood up. "But I guess you better meet your radio colleagues and decide if you want it before you say yes." I grinned in amazement as we left the office and set off along more corridors until we reached a room that said radio. I saw that the green light was illuminated, which generally meant it was okay to head on in, as we pushed open the heavy door and the music hit me at full blast. "Jerry, Vic, this is Stephanie, your newest DJ," Mr. Ford said, as I shook hands with two middle-aged guys who looked rather amused. "Is Jack around?" "No, he'll be here in about an hour," Jerry said, "but we'll look after Stephanie until then." "Okay, that's good. Well, I look forward to catching some of your shows over the next few days, and if you need me for anything, just ask at reception," he said. "Thank you, I will," I replied, still feeling utterly amazed that I'd got the job. I spent the next hour being shown the music system in use before the door opened and a young guy breezed in. "Hi guys," he said before he stopped in his tracks and stared at me. "Who's this then?" he asked with a grin on his face. "Hi, I'm Stephanie, but you can call me Steph," I replied. Are you Jack?" We shook hands. "Steph here is going to be helping you with some of the kids' programmes, as she wants to do this full time and needs some experience before she starts her college course in media," Vic said. "Cool, I have a partner in crime at last," he grinned, and I was immediately caught up in his enthusiasm. "Well, while these two oldies finish their shows, shall I take you on a visit to the kids' ward to meet your audience?" "That sounds great," I replied as I left my bag in the locker and I followed Jack through the corridors. "I think I'm going to need a map," I said, as I was feeling totally disorientated as they all looked alike. "I'll get you one," Jack replied, "but just ask someone if you're not sure." "Well, avoid asking the surgeons as they're always too busy," he replied. Once we reached the ward, I took a deep breath before we opened the door, and lots of young faces looked up expectantly at the new arrivals. It only took a second before a couple of girls walked over to Jack and each took one of his hands. "Jack, you're back," the one girl said. "Come sit on my bed," said the other, both vying for his attention. "Why don't you say hi to my new friend? Stephanie's going to be doing some radio shows with me, and she needs to know what you like to listen to the most," he prompted. Kneeling down so I was on their level, I stuck out my hands, and sure enough they decided I was more interesting. Soon I was surrounded by young, expectant faces, as I heard them asking for all the usual favourites: Aha, Rick Astley, Sonia, Sunita, Kylie Minogue and Mel and Kim. It was great fun as I wandered around the ward and spoke to those that were unable to get out of bed, still smiling despite the pain they were in or the injuries that were healing. The hours flew by until it was time to head back to the studio so I could sit in one of Jack's afternoon sessions. As he showed me again how it all worked, I settled in and helped out where I could, but also took notes, as apparently I had a week to learn before I launched my own show. Checking my watch later, I knew I had to head off as Mum was coming back to pick me up. Leaving Jack to his show, I wandered down the corridors, trying to read my map and locate the way out. All of a sudden I bumped into a doctor hurrying the other way. I dropped my map and he dropped all his notes. "I'm sorry," I said as I quickly knelt down and started to help him gather up his paperwork. Oh, it's my fault. Should have been looking where I was going, he replied. As kneeling beside me, we both made quick work. Looking up into his face, I smiled and blushed. My name's Stephanie, I said, to break the sudden silence that had fallen. Mark, he replied. Nice to meet you. Standing up, he took a better look at me. So, you new here? I don't think I've seen you around before. Yes, I'm going to be working on the radio to help with my media course at college in September, I replied, taking in his blonde hair and startling green eyes. He had a nice smile too. Well, Stephanie, I'll look forward to hearing your show soon, as I do my rounds. I'm a junior doctor, so still in training as well. It's nice to meet you, I said. Am I going in the right direction for the reception area? Yes, just keep going down this corridor and it's through the double doors on your right. Thanks. See you around. Yes, you too, he replied before he hurried off in the opposite direction. Friday the 15th of July 1988. I couldn't wait to speak to James on the phone. Even though we had exchanged letters that week, it was always better to talk to him, and I had plenty to talk about. I told him all about the hospital radio job and about all the stuff I had to learn before my first show. Then he told me that he'd been accepted into the fire service, but just had to complete his physical and medical, which would be in August, so if that went well he'd be able to start in September. Then we reminisced about our week. Are you still wearing your St. Christopher? I asked. Yes, I never take it off, he said, as I imagined his fingers wrapped around it, and wished that they were wrapped around me instead. I look at the stars every night. I do too, he said. When I hear certain songs I think of you. At night I dream of you. Me too. When will I see you again? I can get down to yours for the weekend of the 5th of August. Sorry it's not sooner, but other staff are away on holidays, so there are not many breaks in shift. Thursday the 21st of July 1988. I woke up with nerves again. It was my big day at work. Luckily James had sent me a good luck card in the post, so I packed it in my bag to take with me. Just as I was about to leave to catch the bus to Hereford, the phone rang and it was James. Hi babe, just wanted to wish you good luck for today, you'll be great. Thanks James, it was good of you to give me a call. Sorry it's a quick one, but I'm just on my way out to work. Me too, but I'll phone you later and let you know how I get on. Love you loads. I love you too. And then the conversation was over. The walk to the bus stop was suddenly much easier as I floated along on having heard James's voice. I'd never been so pleased to have Jack helping me out for my first show. It was only 2 hours long, but felt like 5, and it was really tricky to get the music queued up and answer the phone at the same time. I was shattered by the end of it, but overjoyed, especially when Jack gave me a hug. That was great, you have a real flair for music, he said. Thanks, I loved the whole buzz of it, I replied. Are you heading straight home, or do you want to come out for a burger with me and some of the other guys at the hospital? Yeah, that sounds good, I replied as we closed all the equipment down and headed for the door. There was a group of people waiting in reception, and I watched shyly as Jack introduced them all to me. The only other one I knew was Mark, who I'd bumped into the other day. Hi Mark, nice to see you again, I said. Hi Stephanie, great show, loved the music you played, and the kids in the ward appreciated it. I could tell by the smiles on their faces. That's great, I replied as we fell into step with the others. It was good to make some new friends, but all I really wanted to do was go home and speak to James. I wished he'd been there to share this with me. I said goodbye to everyone later and headed off to catch the bus, suddenly feeling really tired and extremely lonely. Once I got home I chatted with my parents, and then up in my room I called the number I knew by heart, and lying back on the bed I waited to hear James's voice once more. Hi James, I said when he answered on the second ring. Hi Steph, how did it go, he asked. It was brilliant, but much harder than I thought it would be. You almost have to do 3 things all at once. Play music, answer phone calls and talk live too, I replied. Well, I've got some great news too. I have my physical test on the 1st of August, so I might know if I get through okay when I next see you, he said. I could hear the excitement in his voice as his dream job appeared to be within reach at last. Only 2 weeks until I see you again, I breathed softly down the line. I know, baby. I hope the time flies, he said. I'm missing you so much. Me too. My bed is too big without you, I said. Mine too, he mirrored, as we paused to think about each other for a moment. I remembered how things had moved on in both our lives that summer, each taking us closer to the careers we craved, but at the same time driving the wedge between us. Lying back on my pillow, I wondered whether James was still a fireman now, as I was a radio DJ and loving it. Was he still married to her? Was he happy? Turning out the light, I put aside the diary, knowing that I would put it back in my daughter's room the following morning when she was at college. So there we are, things are happening. It's all very exciting, hopefully, so I hope to see you back next week for the next chapter. Once again, if you are getting frustrated at having to wait each week, then feel free to go and grab a copy of the book. It's available on Amazon, or you can download it free from my website, which is www.audrinalane.co.uk. Anyway, take care again, and bye for now.